Imagine sitting on your couch scrolling through your phone, and by the time you've blinked twice, a man named Jeff Bezos has just earned another $10,000. That isn't a typo, and it's definitely not a joke. While you're wondering if you should spend 20 bucks on a pizza, Bezos is generating wealth at a speed that defies human logic. Rumors say he makes about $2,500 every single second. To put that into perspective, by the time you finish this first paragraph, he'll have pocketed enough to buy a brand new luxury car. It's absolutely wild, right? But he wasn't always this titan of industry. There was a time when he was just a skinny guy with a receding hairline, laughing a bit too loudly in a cluttered office in Seattle. If you look at photos of him from 1994, you see a classic tech nerd. He wore oversized sweaters and had that look of a guy who spent way too much time staring at Excel spreadsheets. But fast forward to today, and the transformation is nothing short of legendary. We're talking about the glow up of the century. Suddenly, the sweaters are gone, replaced by custom-tailored suits, designer aviator sunglasses, and arms that look like they've been lifting heavy machinery for fun. He went from being the guy you'd ask for help with your printer to looking like a Hollywood action hero or a high-tech mogul. It's a total 180 that leaves everyone wondering what happened in between those two versions of the same man. How did he go from selling dusty old paperbacks out of a garage to literally owning the infrastructure of the internet? It's almost like we all woke up one day and realized that Amazon wasn't just a website anymore. It was an invisible empire that follows us everywhere. Think about it. You might have started by buying a cheap copy of a novel, or maybe a kitchen gadget you didn't really need. But then, slowly, the everything store became a reality. Now, Amazon doesn't just sell you stuff. It hosts the websites you visit through Amazon Web Services. It delivers your groceries from Whole Foods, and it even listens to your grocery list through Alexa. It's a complete takeover. And honestly, it's a bit spooky when you realize how much of our lives are under his spell. Do you remember the very first thing you ever bought on Amazon? Was it a book, a CD, or have you, like the rest of us, just been under his influence for so long that you can't even remember a world without those brown boxes appearing on your doorstep? Before we continue with this incredible journey, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Because the rabbit hole goes much deeper than just prime shipping. While most of us see Amazon as a convenient way to get toilet paper delivered in 2 hours, the secret empire Jeff has built is massive. We're talking about owning one of the most influential newspapers on the planet, the Washington Post, and literally building rockets to reach the stars with Blue Origin. He isn't just content with dominating Earth, he wants to conquer the final frontier too. It's a massive flex of power that rivals the biggest empires in history. Some people look at his fleet of private jets and his massive clock being built inside a mountain and think he's trying to run the world. Is he a visionary trying to save humanity? Or is he just the ultimate collector of power? The truth is a mix of both, but the path to this level of dominance wasn't just about smart algorithms and logistics. Behind the scenes, there's a whirlwind of drama, high-stakes risks that nearly bankrupted him, and scandals that would make a soap opera writer blush. Building an empire this big means making enemies, taking massive gambles that no sane person would take, and navigating a personal life that suddenly became public property. We're talking about a story that involves intense rivalries, secret meetings, and a shift in the global economy that changed the way we live forever. But to understand the billionaire and the aviators, we have to go back to the beginning, before the muscles and the billions, to see where the fire truly started. It is a journey that starts with a humble garage, but ends with a man whose reach extends to the very edge of our atmosphere. It is a tale of relentless ambition that turned a small bookstore into a global superpower. Every move he made was a calculated step toward a future that only he could see at the time. Many people doubted him, but he just kept building, piece by piece, until the world belonged to him. But at what cost? The drama is only just beginning. To really understand the man behind the machine, you've got to look past the current billionaire status and see the kid born to a teenage mother in Albuquerque. His life started under circumstances that didn't exactly scream future world leader. His biological father was out of the picture early, but then enters Miguel Mike Bezos, a Cuban immigrant who arrived in America with nothing but a few shirts and a heart full of dreams. Mike adopted Jeff when he was a toddler, giving him his name and a sense of grit that stuck for the long haul. This isn't just a business biography, it's a classic, started from the bottom narrative that feels uniquely American in every sense. Growing up, Jeff was the kind of kid who took apart his own crib with a screwdriver because he wanted to see how it worked. Can you imagine that? He spent his childhood summers on his grandfather's ranch in Texas, fixing broken tractors and laying pipes under the hot sun. Seriously, the man who now owns a $500 million super yacht once spent his days covered in dirt doing manual labor. That work ethic followed him to Princeton and eventually to the high-pressure world of Wall Street. By his late 20s, Jeff was absolutely killing it at D. E. Shaw, which is one of the most prestigious hedge funds on the planet. He had the high-paying job, the fancy title, and the financial security most people would kill for. But in 1994, he saw a statistic that changed everything. The internet was growing at a staggering rate of 2,300% per year. Most would see that and shrug, but Jeff saw a total goldmine. This is where his regret minimization framework comes in. He asked himself if he'd regret leaving his Wall Street bonus when he was 80 years old. The answer was a hard no, but would he regret missing the internet revolution? Absolutely. He decided to gamble everything on a hunch. He quit his stable job and convinced his wife, Mackenzie Scott, to follow him into the absolute unknown. It was a move that many thought was crazy, but Jeff was already looking decades into the future. Here's a detail many people miss. Mackenzie Scott wasn't just his wife. She was actually the very first Amazon employee and a foundational pillar of the company. She was in the passenger seat of their Chevy Blazer while Jeff tapped away at his laptop, frantically writing the initial business plan as they drove across the country towards Seattle. When they arrived, they didn't have a fancy glass skyscraper. They started in a humble garage with a leaky roof and old wooden doors they used as desks. In those early days, Mackenzie handled the accounting, the secretarial work, and even packed the boxes of books to ship out. It was a true grinding partnership that served as the bedrock for the entire Amazon kingdom. They even initially called the company Cadabra, like abracadabra. But they changed it after a lawyer reportedly misheard it as cadaver. Yikes! Good call on the name change, Jeff. Amazon sounded vast, powerful, and exotic, exactly like the vision he had for his new empire. By 1997, the company went public, and the world finally began to take notice. While the dot-com bubble inflated, with companies being worth billions on paper alone, Jeff stayed obsessively focused on the long game. When the bubble finally burst in 2000 and competitors crashed all around them, Amazon's stock price tanked too. People were calling it Amazon toast, but Bezos didn't blink for a second. He kept his head down and navigated the wreckage that destroyed his rivals. It was a masterclass in resilience. He had built the ultimate machine, and the empire grew larger and more efficient every year. But with this level of extreme wealth, the spotlight becomes blindingly bright. While the business was reaching for the stars, his personal life was heading toward a massive collision. Wait until you hear about the headline-grabbing divorce that shook the financial world to its core and changed everything we thought we knew about the man in the aviators. The stable foundation of the Amazon kingdom didn't just crack, it shattered in a way that left the entire world gasping for air. In 2019, Jeff and Mackenzie Scott announced they were ending their 25-year marriage. This wasn't just a breakup, it was the most expensive divorce, involving $197 billion. While many expected a messy courtroom battle, Mackenzie handled the transition with grace, walking away with a 4% stake in Amazon that made her the wealthiest philanthropist on the planet. But wait, because the plot thickened instantly. Within hours of the announcement, rumors began swirling about a relationship that entirely changed everything. It was truly wild drama. Enter Lauren Sanchez, a helicopter pilot who seemed to be the total opposite of the low-profile Mackenzie. Suddenly, the man who used to wear pleated khakis was the world's biggest famous tabloid star. The National Enquirer claimed to have intimate texts, sparking a scandal that felt more like a Hollywood spy thriller than a business report. Jeff didn't back down though. In a bold move, he published an open letter exposing the tabloid's alleged extortion attempts. It was a turning point for his image. He was no longer just the book guy, he was a high-stakes player, living a life of glamour, jets, and red carpets. This new, buff, and bronzed version of Jeff was truly ready to take on the world and the stars. While his personal life made headlines, his professional rivalry with another reached a fever pitch. You've seen the back and forth on social media, right? The high high-stakes billionaire space race between Jeff and Elon Musk is legend, while Elon's SpaceX landed boosters on ships. Jeff's Blue Origin was working on its own bold and massive vision. The tension between them is palpable, with petty jabs and lawsuits flying faster than their rockets. Why are these guys so obsessed with the final frontier? For Jeff, it's about a dream of millions of people living in space. But when he finally took his trip to the very edge of the atmosphere in 2021, the public reaction was mixed. After landing, he famously thanked employee and customer for paying for all of this, a comment that sparked massive criticism. The controversy didn't stop at the edge of space, though. Have you heard about the super yacht? Jeff commissioned a $500 million vessel so enormous it couldn't even pass under a historic and beloved bridge in Rotterdam. When reports surfaced that the city might have to dismantle the iconic De Hef Bridge just to let his huge boat out to sea, the residents were furious, even threatening to pelt the yacht with rotten eggs. It was the ultimate rich guy flex that polarized the public. To some, he's a real-life visionary genius. To others, he's the real-life version of Lex Luthor, a bald billionaire with too much power and not enough empathy. The memes are endless, often comparing his sleek look to a comic book villain. But whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny the global impact he's had. Since stepping down as CEO to become major executive chair, his focus has shifted toward his legacy. From the Bezos Earth Fund to Blue Origin, he's not done. He recently moved to sunny Miami, closer to the launch pads and his roots, signaling an exciting new chapter in his life with Lauren Sanchez. Is he preparing to lead humanity to the stars, or is he just enjoying the spoils of a war he already won? The story of the nerd in the garage is far from over, so what do you think? Is Jeff Bezos the greatest businessman to live, or just the luckiest guy in the world? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives.